Council, distinguished members of the Council, Madam Minister of Foreign Affairs, Francophonie and Central Africans abroad of the Central African Republic, Mr. President, I would like to congratulate South Korea in assuming the presidency of the Council for the month of June, and I take this opportunity to thank you for chairing this session. I'm indeed honored to present the most recent report of the Secretary General on the Central African Republic. I will first underscore some achievements of the mission in delivering its mandate in support of the implementation of the political agreement for peace and reconciliation in Central Africa. I will then elaborate on the extension of MINUSCA's footprint to additional localities in Ombumu Prefecture in the southeast of Central Africa, paving the way for extension and restoration of civilian and security state authority in this region. Last, I will also share with the Council some of the operational challenges faced by the mission during this reporting period. Distinguished members of the Council, on 17th April, Central African National Border Management Commission held its inaugural plenary session and is since actively implementing its 10-year action plan under the leadership of the Ministry of Territorial Administration, Decentralization, and Local Development. The limited to no state presence in border areas has historically provided a fertile ground for cross-border insecurity in the Central Africa. Restoration of state authority and border management control constitute priority pillars of the APPR-RCA and Luanda roadmap to anchor security of border areas as the bedrock for the full restoration and consolidation of durable security in Central Africa. Yesterday in Bangui, the joint sessions of the Ad hoc Borders Commission and the Permanent Joint Commission on Cross-Border Security between the Republic of Cameroon and the Central African Republic commenced their deliberations, demonstrating the political resolve of both governments to address border security, transhumance issues, illegal trafficking, and common border issues through the revitalization of existing cross-border cooperation mechanisms. Distinguished members of the Council, past and recurrent political and security crises in the Central African Republic have negatively impacted transhumance, turning a secular practice into one of the main triggers of attacks against the civilians. The recent killings of 16 civilians in Lime village in the Ouampende prefecture, following a land conflict involving local farmers and cattle owners, was a stark reminder of the urgency to reverse the dynamics of violence and to reposition livestock farming and transhumance as factors of peaceful coexistence, stabilization, and economic development. On 13th of May, the President of the Republic and Head of State presided over the first high-level national conference on peaceful and prosperous transhumance. The high-level conference, which was facilitated by MINUSCA, agreed to the following decisions: update the legal and institutional framework on transhumance corridors, support to local conflict prevention mechanism, leverage existing cross-border mechanism to manage cross-border transhumance, and to manage cross-border transhumance. Implementation of these decisions of the high-level conference will significantly improve transhumance management, which, it should be recalled, is a pillar of the APPR-RCA. Distinguished members of the Council, the preparations for local elections have gained momentum. With the adoption of the revised electoral code by the National Assembly on the 20th of May, and recent financial contributions to the UNDP Basket Fund, As previously stated, local elections are a key provision of the political agreement. The mission will continue to provide the mandated multifaceted support to the preparations of local elections, including through awareness-raising activities to mobilize broad participation, in particular, the full and safe participation of women. We welcome the contributions made by some members. We appreciate the ongoing mobilization efforts by the President of the Peacebuilding Commission configuration on Central Africa, and we encourage all members to extend support to the Central African municipal elections, which were last held 36 years ago. Mr. President, distinguished members of the Council, the security situation remains challenging in border areas. The Ombumu Prefecture in the southeast of Central African Republic witnessed an intensification of the violence against the civilians. Amidst an escalation of the conflict and retaliation attacks between elements of the UPC armed group and Azande self-defense group. As members of the Council will recall, the mission first expanded its footprint to the locality of Mboki in the Ombumu and supported the deployment of the National Armed Forces in 2023, which in turn enabled the demobilization, disarmament, and repatriation of ex-combatants of LRA and their dependents to Uganda. Following the deterioration of the security situation early this year, MINUSCA further expanded its footprint, its force footprint, in the prefecture to prevent further outbreak of violence. In parallel, the mission mobilized its limited engineering and logistical capabilities to improve ground access to Ombumu Prefecture, an area which is bigger than Switzerland and almost the size of Sierra Leone, an area which is inaccessible by ground transportation during long rainy seasons in the Central Africa. The expansion of the force footprint has enabled the mission to extend the implementation of its mandated priority task in the prefecture, notably protection of civilians, facilitation of humanitarian assistance delivery, and paved the way for the extension of civilian and security state authority through the ongoing rehabilitation of the Bangasu-Obo-Bambuti axis. Within a very short time, working closely with national and local authorities, local communities, and humanitarian partners, the mission is making tangible and transformative progress on the security, humanitarian, and peace-building fronts in Ombumu. Turning now to another border area, in Amdafok, at the border with Sudan. On April 6, MINUSCA facilitated the deployment of national defense forces in support to extension of Central Africa State Authority. Distinguished members of the Council, notwithstanding progress registered in MINUSCA's mandate implementation during the covered reporting period, I'm deeply concerned by the continuous misinformation and disinformation campaigns against the mission, with an uptick in the hostile content targeting MINUSCA. This further complicates the already challenging context in which the mission operates. I call on the government to hold accountable identified individuals, including public servants, channeling and echoing such campaigns, which pose a significant risk to the safety and security of our peacekeepers, while constraining the mission ability to optimally implement tasks mandated by the Council and requested by Central African national authorities. I'm also preoccupied by the slow progress with the release of missions equipment, which was seized by national customs, despite the mission repeated engagement with relevant government institutions. Mr. President, distinguished members of the Council, I would like to conclude my statement by sincerely thanking members of the Council for the consistent support extended to MINUSCA over the years. To sustain and consolidate gains achieved by the mission will require your continued support and will require the government continued investment in building capabilities of its national institutions, including security institutions, to enable them to fulfill the government's primary responsibility to protect its population and sovereignty of its national territory. I thank you for your kind attention.